Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. We're here in the Brough Superior section of my garage. Now, if you've been to this website before, you know we are huge Brough Superior motorcycle enthusiasts. Brough was a company that built the epitome of motorcycles back in the 30s, probably one of the most valuable motorcycles today. I was lucky enough to get mine back in the early 80s when they weren't going for a whole lot. The company went out of business just about the end of World War II. And it's been revived by a gentleman named Mark Upham. Mark is a dedicated Brough Superior enthusiast. He set a number of records at Bonneville with his Brough Superior bikes. Building racing motorcycles is really only for those that really love the sport, because it's a tough thing to do, especially when you're a privateer. And that's what Mark has done with Brough Superior. With this bike here, the Moto2. Let's meet the two geniuses behind this, John Keogh, Paul Taylor. Come on in, guys.
All right.
Now,
Hi,
Paul.
Jay.
Now, you're in charge of the...
I'm in charge of the construction of it.
Construction.
So I make it.
And you're the designer.
I am.
All right. Now, as you can see, it doesn't look at all like one of the vintage Brough Superiors. You know, Mark and his boys took some vintage, or at least vintage-looking Broughs to Bonneville this year and last year and set a bunch of records using basically a 60 or 80-year-old design in many cases. But this is a brand new motorcycle, isn't it?
It is, and it's pretty unique. It's the only monocoque chassis motorcycle. People have said that there are composite monocoques before, or steel monocoques or aluminium, but this is the genuine article. So it's F1 technology put into a motorcycle.
And explain to people exactly what monocoque means.
Means the chassis, the shell, is the body of the bike.
Right.
This tank structure is performing 4 different things. As a designer, we're looking for ultra lightweight. We want each component to do at least 2 things. As I say, in this case, it's doing 4 things. It's a fuel tank, it's a chassis, it's an air duct to the rear radiator, and it's what you hang the front suspension off. So that is a monocoque.
Right, where the whole unit is the motorcycle, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there's not a lot of parts to take off. This is pretty much the whole bike. And what power plant are you using?
This bike has been built specifically to race in Grand Prix,
Right.
in Moto2. And Moto2 is a spec engine class, so it has a Honda 600 engine, and all the bikes have the same engine.
What is this monocoque weigh?
The whole bike
Yeah.
itself weighs 315 pounds.
Wow.
With no fuel, but
Right.
ready to go. So it is on the light side, and of course we see that as a competitive advantage.
Sure. Now, without the engine and the wheels and the front fork, what does that monocoque weigh?
Well, Jay, the monocoque is this part
Well,
here.
that's true, yeah. This is all...
And it weighs 25 pounds.
Wow, okay, just
So-
25 pounds.
Yeah, and that includes the fuel, the gas tank, and
I mean, to give
everything.
our viewers an idea, a standard motorcycle, not monocoque, would weigh what?
A comparable a street motorcycle,
Right.
for example, would be around 400 pounds.
Okay, and you're...
315.
Right, okay.
So it's significantly lighter, and it's actually a little bit under the minimum weight.
Yeah. How many gallons?
Well, after one of your lunches,
that's
we're
right.
not going to have any problems.
How many...
The
many
gas
gallons?
tank it's about 6 gallons.
Oh, it isn't big. It's 6
Yeah.
gallons. Wow. Okay.
Well, and one of the reasons is here, obviously, is the filler, and that's
Right.
the top of the gas tank. And the bottom of the gas tank is right down there.
Oh, I see. So obviously using an electric fuel pump.
Yes, we use a fuel pump, and so the gas volume is very much in the center of the bike.
I
And
see.
we did that deliberately so that as the race goes on, the fuel level drops, the weight distribution back to front remains constant. So the handling remains
Oh, I
constant.
see. Oh, that's
So
very
that
clever,
was
isn't
one
it?
of our design features.
How long did it take you to design this bike?
Well, I think the important thing is testing as well to
Yeah.
get it to the point.
Right.
And we've been working on it for about 3 years.
Okay.
And so quite a considerable time.
From when we, first hand drawings.
And
'cause
what
all my
are
stuff
both
is
of
hand.
your backgrounds in motorcycling besides this?
Well, I'm just an enthusiast.
Oh, okay.
I just love to ride.
Right.
And I ride every day, ride
Okay.
to work. And
So you never worked for any of the big companies or anything?
No, not myself, but John is a different kettle of
I'm a
fish.
freelance motorcycle designer, so I
Right.
started off with Triumph went freelance. I've worked with Buell, and I like your red Firebolt. That
Yeah,
was one
yeah.
of mine, along with Eric.
Oh, very cool.
But again, innovation. The great thing with working with Eric was you come up with an idea, let's put the oil in the swing arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Triumph would say, you're fired.
Right.
Eric would say, no, tell me more, let's
Yeah,
try something
yeah.
else. And that's distilled into this bike here. We knew we couldn't match the guys from Honda or Calix or Suter.
Right.
That a small company like ourselves would have to kind of go around the back and come up with lightweight construction and some new interesting features.
This is what I love about the English. There's all these little guys hidden away doing all these genius things. But that's what it's great. I mean, the fact that enthusiasts can come up with this level of design and engineering is pretty amazing, the two of you working together. So when did you hook up with Mark Upham and Brough Superior?
Well, that was, you mentioned earlier that Mark is bringing back the brand to the market. And as we see from your poster behind here, that George Brough had a racing heritage and liked to develop his products on the racetrack. Mark had a similar idea, and this was a project which he felt was very much in the spirit of George. And so now we're collaborating to bring it back to the racetrack.
And you've taken it out to the track already?
Oh yes, we've been. It's been on the racetrack for a couple of years. We've been developing it with Sean Higby. He's our development rider. It's been a couple of issues, I have to admit, where we've learnt some stuff.
Right.
And
Well, that's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a problem. It's solving problems. So we've dealt with those, and now we feel it's ready to go to the grid.
And we have some carbon fiber here you want to show us.
This is pre-preg carbon fiber. So this is the material that we made the bike from. And what this is, it has the resin mixed in with it. If you look at the back there, you can feel it's kind of sticky. And that's the resin and the hardener, and that's the carbon. And it's mixed in the optimum ratio for strength.
I see.
To fiber. So there's no excess fiber, no excess resin.
And what do we have here? This is...
Well, I wanted to show you this because this is a test sample, because to understand the stiffness, it's all related to the number of layers and the core. So I wanted to show you this because this is actually what this section, the monocoque, looks like if you were to cut through.
It's that thick?
It is that thick. It's all the way over. And this is a Nomex core here, which makes it not only very strong, but very stiff.
Yeah.
And
break that.
Well, the other thing is it must survive a penetration test for the FIM, because of course that is our gas tank as well as the chassis.
Right.
So they don't want that in the event of an accident in any way rupturing.
To split or rupture.
Yeah.
Wow.
So as we move over the bike, we have different thicknesses of this. So it starts, that's with just one layer.
Right.
This is actually 24 layers.
Oh, I see. It's 24 of these, eh?
Yeah, it's 24 of those. So this is a lightweight panel, you know, because it's just a cover. So this is 4 layers.
And this one here, which one you meant? Oh,
that one
Okay, that's very thin, isn't
That's
it?
just 2 layers.
Yeah.
So every component has different numbers of layers, and the fibers running in different directions to give it the stiffness that the rider is telling us that we need. So you mentioned about what is the overall stiffness compared. It's something that you have to tune with the construction. Hence, we've been at it for a couple of years.
Right.
And actually, that swing arm that we have on the bike now is number 5.
That's right. The swing arm is carbon fiber, of course. I mean, look at that. Wow, that's pretty amazing.
So we put a lot of work into that, and that was the main issue. The front suspension is a bit unusual because it's supported by a single wishbone pivoting here, and comes through to clamp here on the fork. So it makes a very stiff structure in the forks. And as you can see, we have the full Grand Prix Brembo brakes, so the best brakes you can buy. It brakes really, really hard. But Jay, feel the suspension in terms of... It's not hard or stiff. It's not stiff at all because the A-arm takes out a component of compression. So we're able to run much softer springs.
That's almost like a street bike.
Yeah, and yet this is a full-on racing bike. And by running lighter springs, we get more grip from the front tyre. One thing that John initiated was an aerodynamic study for the bike. And traditionally, of course, that's done in an air tunnel.
Right.
But these days, it's all computer.
Right.
So we had a CFD study done to try and optimize the aerodynamics. And it was very useful for us to really point out things that were obvious that we never thought of.
Yeah.
So there's kind of this where we talk about an aerodynamic study that John initiates to optimize the airflow. And what this shows for us is there's a low pressure area here in the duct, the blue area, and so we change the shape of this duct. So based on this data.
And the air runs through all the way up here to the back, doesn't it?
Yeah, all the way through
sort of a ram air effect.
to the radiator.
To the radiator, which is back here. Boy, that is very clever. Oh, I see. Look at this. The whole rear section here is the radiator.
Yeah. So the idea is you have low pressure behind the bike, and then it actually sucks the air through. This tunnel runs all the way through the middle of the fuel, kind of like the hole in a donut, out to the radiator. And one thing that John...
so there's the top of the duct, and it is surrounded by fuel.
Yeah.
We were having a donut. We were saying, how are we going to get the air through the fuel tank? Yeah. And we came up with the donut, because somebody was eating a donut.
Boy, all these clever little touches you don't see when you first look at the bike. Yeah. Well, I think George Brough would be very proud, gentlemen.
Well, thank you.
This is just the kind of thing that he liked, you know. But I think it's wonderful that you guys are doing this, and it's a small company, and it's bringing back a great name in motorcycling. And vintage bikes are cool, but to see this kind of technology in this level is really good. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We shall watch for you on the track.
Cool.
Good luck, guys. Thank you. See you next week.
Mm-hmm.